Welcome to the In Search of More podcast. I am your host, Ellie Nash. Join me weekly on my quest for more from myself and more from this world. We'll see you on the other side. All right, welcome. I'm sitting here with Rabbi Rapoport.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
On Instagram, Rabbi Raps.
I'm the TikToker Rebbe, actually.
Are you on TikTok too?
Yeah, I'm a TikTok, Instagram.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about how your recent addition to the club, like I am, the Club of Content Creation. So, for a while, I was in the content consumption business.
Yes. Better to be creating than consuming.
Right.
So, I am a community rabbi, a Chabad rabbi for 18 years in the Atlantic City area, a little beach town called Ventnor.
Called what?
Ventnor, New Jersey.
Ventnor.
Yeah.
So the association would be gambling, but that's probably not what.
Well, Ventnor and Atlantic City are pretty much the same town, just this is more residential.
Got it.
Yes, I grew up, my parents are shluchim there, so I grew up, in the lights of the casinos, big Shabbos tables, interesting guests from all over the world.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And your parents are still there now?
They're still there now.
Got it. And you
we
opened
work
it
together. I have another center, but we work together.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I was selling God for 18 years. No, I'm just kidding. I'm shliach for many years, and I love my community. I love what I do, and by mistake, I became a content creator.
So talk about that. How did this mistake happen?
So it was one of the best mistakes I've ever made. COVID came, and my shul shut down. We had to lock the door. And at that point, I only had Facebook. I didn't have Instagram. So I took a little video because I wanted to talk to everyone was so worried and in shock. I wanted to give some words of comfort. I showed them I was locking the door of the shul, but don't worry. And I gave them a message.
That was your first video?
That was my first video. And it went out, and people enjoyed it. And I guess it went viral within my little followers at that time. And everyone, I got some nice feedback. And a sister of mine said, you should be on Instagram. I said, I don't know what that is. She says, yeah, Facebook's for old people. So I was offended a little bit, but I opened an Instagram account and I started to create little videos, and I realized the power of social media. I realized how you could just create this little video and just, a lot of people are seeing it or sharing it. And had a little free time, so I said, we have to study this. And I started studying the algorithm, and all through COVID, I was making videos, and slowly but surely, my account grew.
Right. I see it's a pretty nice size now, over 100,000.
Yeah, and TikTok,
nice.
I have as well as a nice following.
Got it. And you do it yourself? You have help with it?
I do it all myself. I'm looking to expand. For me, it's, I have this my community, which is my full-time job, and my creativity is to create Jewish content, lessons, stories, some jokes, Yiddishkeit.
Right. So,
social media.
Right. What's the purpose of it? What are you trying to get? What are you trying to deliver
it's
to
an
the world?
extension of everything I do out of my shul, out of my Chabad house. I'm teaching Yiddishkeit. I'm teaching Judaism. Messages of hope, of positivity, lessons. It's when I realized the power of social media and how by creating, a small 60-second video, you could be impacting thousands and sometimes millions of people. I feel like a responsibility as a person who, I'm supposed to be teaching, I'm supposed to be inspiring, I'm supposed to be educating. Not to use tools like this is just, I'm not doing my job fully. And so I'm an advocate for everyone, but in my niche, rabbis, to learn how to use social media and to, even if they don't want to be content creators for the world, just for their own communities, it's a very powerful tool.
Right. So originally you started it just hoping to reach your people.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that was the vehicle for it. You didn't expect it to become what it became. Do you know why it became what it became? Like, was it algorithm? Is there something else that... And who is the audience? Are they Jewish, non-Jewish?
So my goal is to reach the Jewish audience, just like, a Chabad house. I'm looking really to speak to a Jewish person who's maybe wasn't born religious. And, I think that's the angle of my content. But I have a lot of religious followers.
Right.
I have a lot of non-Jewish followers as well, which is it's making me think about a whole different direction, the idea of Sheva mitzvahs, teaching the world
The seven Noahide laws.
seven Noahide laws. The Rebbe spoke a lot about that. So I feel like maybe with social media, we should be doing a little more.
Are you doing some of that? Are you focused on that?
So I've created a lot of content on it, but I feel like it needs its own page.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's only 7. What are you going to do with that?
No, but it's not just 7. It's like everyone, like the belief in that there's a God. That's the whole world.
Right.
And care for animals. I know it's don't cut a limb off, but like care for animals. And what about tzedakah projects? What about prayer? I mean, I think that no one really expanded on it. We walk around. There are people that give out these little cards. That, 7 laws: don't kill, don't steal.
Right.
Most good people are not doing things like that. So I feel it needs to be expounded upon. I don't know if anyone's doing that yet.
I haven't seen it.
Right. I think it should be like, there are so many people that have a connection to God, have a feeling, a belief in Hashem, and they believe maybe in the Torah, maybe in Israel, in the Jewish people. They want to be a partner, and the world's supposed to be a partner with us. Of tikkun olam, to make the world a better place, for all the good things that we're trying to accomplish, to bring Mashiach. But I don't think it's 7 lines on a card. I think it's a lifestyle. I mean, there should be prayer. There should be volunteer projects. There should be mitzvahs. I think there's an opportunity to really...
You think like a movement?
I'm picturing stadiums of people that believe in the message of Judaism. Of
Right,
Torah.
the message of Judaism, but not as Jews.
Not as Jews, but to
Right,
support...
so what is their practice, right?
Because it's one message. Mashiach is not just for Jews.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's my next project.
Cool. Have you started on it, or
No.
it's a thought?
Just a thought right now.
Nice. Okay. But things happen when you say thoughts
It's
out loud on the microphone.
Yeah, well, I'm involved. It's evolving as I speak to you. So
Right,
just as I spoke to you, I just booked, the Madison Square Gardens. A couple things just happened as we spoke.
You know Chase Taub, I'm sure.
Yes.
So Chase tells a story of how he wrote a book, and I may misspeak on something, but the general idea is there. So I think he was being interviewed by he was a Chabad rabbi in Milwaukee, and he had some sort of recovery group that he spoke to. They would meet once a week, and he would speak to this group of recovering addicts. Yeah. And somehow this got on the news, this rabbi who was doing this, and when he was being interviewed, they said, well, what's next? Where do you go from here? And he said, well, I guess I'll write a book. And he said, and that's how
where
the
it
book
started.
was born. Yeah. And then he had something else that happened kind of as an offshoot from that, where he said it first, and then he did it. So, okay, good. I'm glad it was...
let's see what happens.
It was captured here. So what were you missing before? Meaning now you're an advocate for it, right?
Yeah.
For this idea of rabbis being content creators and using these vehicles as a way to get their message out.
Yeah.
But you've been doing this for 18 years, and you've been doing the content. You've been a rabbi for 18 years, and you've been doing the content creation for 3 years. So what were you missing for those 15? What didn't you know that you now know?
I was just very consumed in my work. I really wasn't up to date with, with social media and where it went at that time. I was always someone that created videos, as a kid. When I was bar mitzvah, all my money went to my first camcorder. I always liked to create, to tell stories. I was making promotional videos. I had a business that I did that before I went and became a rabbi. And then when I started building a community, it became all-consuming, and everything fell aside. And like I said, one of the silver linings, right, of COVID is a lot of people found different hobbies or different things. And for me, it was an opportunity to really connect with a beautiful community. I have a wonderful following online, and it extends beyond just videos. People are following. I have classes people sign up to and things like that. Yeah.
Neat. So it's really created. You have like relationships with some of your followers.
Yes.
That's really neat. So previously, you just didn't. It wasn't even on your radar at all.
Right.
Was there a hurdle for you in terms of who am I to make these videos? Why would I do it? Why would anyone listen? There's so many rabbis out there. Any of those things?
Interesting. So a few things. One is, for some reason, I always had a hard time putting myself on video when I gave my classes. I would give good classes. I did the JLI. I would fill up the room sometimes with 60, 70, 80 people for a class. People were coming back, signing up. They were great classes. For some reason, you put the camera on, and I was so self-conscious and what I'm going to say. And I believe I had like a fear, like, what if I say something wrong? And it's like on video for everyone to see all the time.
Right, it lives forever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
had that, yeah.
I really had a fear. And, you know, as a kid in overnight camp, I was always on the stage. I'm a public speaker. I have no problem with that. But something about the video, like, it crippled me. I think, like, you know, maybe I would say something that wasn't accurate in a medrash or the parsha, and I had these ideas. I want to make videos, education in videos. You know, I always wanted to do that, but I never did. And now I make mistakes every single day, and I just don't care.
Right, you could with that.
No, take that back. I care, but it just doesn't.
It doesn't stop you from doing what you're doing.
Right, but that was. Yeah, so you put on another video. I made a mistake yesterday. And that's a great hook, by the way, when creating content, you know. I messed up. What? Now they're going to watch. No,
Right.
but so that was an interesting hurdle to overcome.
Isn't it interesting? Because I wonder what that is, because I interviewed someone not long ago who has somewhat of an Instagram following, right? Not your size, but nice size, and is known in that world for it. But all of it is text or memes or thoughts or whatever, right? But never video. And she came here and she did a video, and afterwards she was like, "It's too much. I can't put it out there. It's like I can't see my face."
Did you not release it?
For about 30 minutes, it was released, and then it came down. Yeah, but it was too much. It was too much for her, and I wonder what that is. Because you're saying you're out there, you're filling up rooms, 60, 70 people, no problem.
Yeah.
But getting behind your own iPhone by yourself.
But it's forever, and it's for everyone. And there's something about, you know, people in a room, it doesn't go anywhere. It stays in the room with the people that are there. But when you put it on video, it's a hurdle. People have to overcome it, right?
Right.
But I'm glad to hear that you had a creator that was willing to create without putting their video. Not everyone's going to put their face on video.
For sure, yeah.
So, you know, this is such a powerful tool, and we all really have a gift, a message. Every single person has one. You know, in Judaism, in Yiddishkeit, we believe this idea that, like, every soul, you know, has a light that no one else has since the beginning of time. The universe is waiting. So what a great medium to be able to express that light. And even if a person's not going to put a video out, memes.
Yeah, there's so much you can do. There's so much you can share. So much that could be done. Did you go through different kind of iterations in, okay, now I'm comfortable with this kind of content. Maybe you're first sharing jokes, and then you're comfortable sharing lessons, and then you're comfortable sharing, I don't know, something else?
It definitely, if I go back to I think I put out about 2,000 videos now in 3 years. And they're on pretty much the same on all the platforms. Some are different. The style definitely changed because it really was a journey for me to grow into my comfort zone. So in the beginning, there was a lot of awkwardness. And I personally had a struggle because, first of all, I try to hide it a little bit. As I started to make more creative content, I tried not to post it where my community would see it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because I was, so in the beginning I did it just for my community. Then I said, hey, this is interesting. Maybe I can create some, content for the world. But I was afraid, am I being too loose, too free? Maybe a rabbi shouldn't be that creative. Maybe a rabbi shouldn't, walk that close to, to something controversial. And so I actually tried to hide it in the beginning, but I quickly found out that everyone was following, so I couldn't hide it anymore. But in the beginning, there was a little bit of finding a balance. Some of my stuff has comedy, some of it is, controversial, everything you need to be able to create quality online content. But in the beginning, I struggled with it. Is this okay? Is everyone going to be okay with this?
Right.
And it took a certain amount of time to become comfortable in my own skin.
Right. I'm thinking from my own journey with it, as I started first with, webinars, which also it was done and then it's over, right? Even though people are seeing it and there's a camera aspect to it, it wasn't originally done as a recorded conversation or originally contemplated as a recorded conversation. And at first, all I was doing was asking other people questions. So I was kind of like, okay, you have this known rabbi, and let him say something. And my role is just I put this together. I had nothing to do with it. You're not coming here to hear what I'm saying. But then, as we're getting through some of the conversations, and sometimes someone says something I agree with or I don't agree with or whatever it was, I started kind of mixing in some of my own ideas, and I said, okay, maybe I can do this. And then went through that. But when I went to it, say, okay, I'm going to share my idea, I couldn't do it where it was just me looking at the camera and saying, here's what it is. So I brought a friend to kind of sit down, and I would talk out the idea with him, even though it was clearly coming from me, but it felt more comfortable going on camera as a conversation.
Right.
And then eventually now, I'm just starting now to record just me sitting in front of a camera talking. So it took time, and I guess it's a worthy message for those who are thinking of entering into content creation. Is there's levels to the discomfort. We can be comfortable with one thing and not with the next, and then slowly over time we get comfortable with that.
Well, podcast is the best way to create content because you're having a natural conversation and the camera's just there instead of that awkward looking into the camera where a person has to figure it out. Right. But there's a lot of I know that there's a lot of people that know they have a gift. They know they have something to contribute, and they're sort of on the fence, and they're just waiting for that moment where they could emerge and begin their message. And it's a hard hurdle to like actually do it. What's the secret? I don't know I think you just have to start.
Yeah, at the beginning it sounded like you're using pretty strong language that not doing it is almost neglecting your responsibilities as a rabbi.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you expand that to all humans? Meaning, if someone has a gift and they're not sharing it with the world, then they're neglecting their responsibility in the world. Would you go that far?
Well, I mean, those are stronger words, but and we could come from that angle, but for a personal angle, from a personal perspective, I think everyone wants to feel that they're contributing to the world, and doing something to make a difference and you want to go to sleep at night and say, I'm changing the world in a better way. And everyone has a special something. It's not the same for everyone. Not everyone it's going to be through video, not everyone through speaking. Some are going to write, some are going to sing, some are going to dance, right? Some it's going to be in public and some it's going to be in private, but you want to go to sleep at night or, say, I feel fulfilled. The people are looking for meaning more than anything else.
Yeah, someone who I interviewed here said, he spoke about the difference between a gift and a blessing, right? So a gift would be to have a good voice, but a blessing is when you share that gift with others, right? You put that blessing
It's beautiful.
on them. So, I was thinking about it because my wife has an incredible voice, but she's uncomfortable singing. She says, well, it's not like that good. I mean, I don't know what that good means, but I guess what she's saying is like it's not like an Adele or a Celine Dion or something that can fill up stadiums. But I'm like, hey, it's better than mine. It's better than most people in the room. If there's someone singing, it should be you. And I feel like it's a failing on my part that I have not inspired her to use it more, whatever that means. And it could be in small settings, but just to be comfortable singing, right? It could be 10 people sitting around something, and she stands up and sings a song.
Right. We don't all have to be singing for the whole world.
Right.
But I think that.
But the gift is shared.
Yeah, we have to share our gift with, So some people it might be they have the capacity to build a very large following online, and that's beautiful. But and it might be more of a superficial impact because you have so many people. But then there's some people that are creating niche content that are talking to a smaller group of people, and it might be a very small people, but they might be a very small group of people, but they may actually be changing lives in a very real way. So I don't know if it's only about numbers, it's not about large crowds. It's about really making a difference.
Right. I don't think of what my content in terms of numbers at all. It's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that impact, someone to reach out to me and say, hey, I heard your stuff, and that guy you had on there, I reached out, maybe it was a therapist, and I reached out to them to set up an appointment, or maybe there was a retreat spoken about, then I signed up to the retreat, or I heard you talk about addiction, and I said, you know what, I'm making a commitment, I'm done, I'm not watching pornography anymore, or whatever it is that someone makes a decision. When I see those are the things that are the most meaningful, or even a step beyond that, if someone does nothing more than sharing a message with me and saying, hey, I watched your stuff and I never shared this with anyone, but I wanted to let you know that maybe this thing happened to me as a child or
Wow.
whatever else. Those are the impacts that kind of, like I trade in that currency, so to speak, because.
Right, and that's why you do what you do. You're using your gift and your ability to help people in your way. And it's going really far. I personally enjoy your podcasts.
Is there one that comes to mind? Not to put you on the spot. We can edit this part out.
You know, you put me on the spot. I find them all interesting.
Mendy Pellin's a friend of yours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the same class. We were chavrusas.
Really? Yeah. For some reason, I have an association of you guys together for some reason, maybe from when we were children. Did you catch that one? Did you see that podcast we did together?
I didn't.
No.
I would have loved to.
Okay, check it out.
Okay, so now I would definitely enjoy.
Yeah, check it out.
Mendy is extremely talented,
Yes.
and he had, wherever we were, he had the ability to make everyone laugh, and still does. So.
Right. He took a slight detour with his more recent videos on the molestation and things like that.
Right.
That he,
and I know that there was
featured.
some controversy around it, but in the end, he showed that what he's doing is impactful.
Why do you say that?
I was just looking at a lot of the comments he shared that people shared with him that
Right.
seemed to really help people
really,
make awareness.
It did. There was a lot of controversy around that one. It was quite interesting. That's when we did a podcast right afterwards to talk about that controversy, because it seems like you can't touch that subject without everyone coming
Right.
and having an opinion.
Right. Well, now I have some homework to do.
What, that one?
Yeah, to go watch listen to the episode, but I'm sure whoever's listening is probably interested in going and checking it out as well, right?
Did you watch the videos he put out? They were hard to watch.
I watched part of them. I'll be honest with you, for me it was difficult to watch.
Yeah, same.
I just made me very uncomfortable.
Right. I got to like 50 minutes and I've seen enough.
Yeah, I mean, I felt it was important, but it was just uncomfortable for me personally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think that was kind of the goal.
Right. There are times in the community where, you know, these concerns come up and people are talking about it. I felt like things sort of died down. People got comfortable again, which is not good when it comes to
Right.
abuse. And perhaps it was needed to shake things up a little bit and, you know, remind people that we have to stay vigilant.
Yeah. It brought it home in a different way, for sure.
Yeah.
For people, it's hearing the voice from, hearing it like right out of the horse's mouth. Like, this is what I did. This is what I think. And then seeing the guy's reaction, and then you being a judge of, you know, where you think that person is at in their healing journey. It's quite interesting.
Indeed.
So, yeah. So I remember you somewhat from childhood. You and your brother, you guys went through we were talking about it just before the cameras went on.
Yeah.
You had some sort of accident as a child, a car accident.
Yes. We grew up in the Atlantic City area with no yeshiva to go to. So at that stage, we were going to Lakewood. We are Lakewood Cheder success stories. Anyway, they don't put my picture on any of the posters yet, but we'll talk to them about that. Anyway, I was
1 million followers you got.
I don't think they don't allow social media in Lakewood.
I gotcha.
Yeah, not yet.
It's $1 million, not 1 million followers. Is that what's needed? No.
I was 9 years old, and my brother was 8, and we were in a terrible car accident. And we were out of school for a long time. And back then, it was like quite the story. You know, around 2 children, 2 shluchims, kids are in the hospital.
How long were you in the hospital for?
I was I think it was like 5 months.
That's well.
Yeah. I broke my femur, my ribs, a lot of operations, and they put me back together. And one foot's a little longer than the other.
Is that?
I never told anyone this.
No,
the world now knows. But otherwise, I'm good. Thank God.
Got it. Was there something? I remember. I don't know why. Your brother was a grade older than I was, and you were 2 grades older than I was, and I had a brother who was, I guess, your grade mate or like the same grade as you were, a classmate.
Yes, your brother was and a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Still is. I have to call him. We have to catch up.
Well,
It's been a while.
yeah, it's been a little bit. Should we get him on the podcast?
Sure.
Yeah, thinking about it.
Yeah, he would be great. He would have a lot to contribute.
He definitely has a lot to contribute. Yeah. So, where was I? Okay, so in terms of that story, right, and there's a reason I'm going there, it kind of connects off of this, is when you were talking about me sharing my gifts, right, with the world, it's, yes, part of it, but also I shared a lot of my story with the world, meaning one theory I have is that there's kind of a central book maybe for mankind, right? The Jews believe that the Torah is a central book for mankind, right? This is the instruction to all of us.
Right.
Okay, but now we all have our unique journey. So what's our unique instruction? Right? If it was, this is the guide that all of us follow, but then you choose to be a rabbi, I choose to be a businessman. That doesn't say anywhere in the Torah which one to do it. So how do we know? Right. And that is the personal journey or talents as well. Like those kind of combine to say, hey, this must be your message, your gift to share with the world. So I'm wondering if there's anything from something like that, which is pretty profound, being out of school for, a good part of a year, most likely, a car accident, you and your brother. Was there something in your life that you look at today that say that could not have been there, either that lesson or that relationship or whatever it is that could not have been there were it not for the accident?
That's a good question. I felt as a kid I had these existential questions. I remember being young, and this after the accident, because I was close. I was really in a bad situation, and it came through. I remember thinking about does everyone realize we're all going to die one day? And I remember feeling like other people don't seem to realize it. We're in a room with all these people, and everyone's going to die one day, and everyone's cool with it. No one's, freaking out. Right? I remember a lot of that, and that's definitely impacted me in my own spiritual journey and in my own development in my learning in yeshiva and everything. But I didn't see it by a lot of people. People were man, I guess we die one day, And to me, it was but it's real. It's so this idea of the blessing of life, the value of the gift of life, and also the realization that it could be that you won't be alive. From a very young age, I had that, and probably because of the accident. Also, in yeshiva, growing up, I used to be the one to challenge a lot about questions about faith.
This is post-accident.
Well, before the accident, I was too young to really have real thoughts.
Right.
I was 9. I mean,
my 5-year-old is giving me life lessons every day, but I hear you. Maybe
okay. I don't remember much of them.
Right.
So I don't know if the accident was or wasn't a factor in it, but I think it probably was. And for me, growing up in my personal journey, it was always I questioned everything. How do you even know this religion is real? And I remember challenging my rabbis in the yeshiva and my friends, and they didn't seem to have that challenge, those questions many times. And so I think both of those might have to do with the accident a little bit.
Right. I've seen this, and I'm feeling it from you also. There's a quality of taking life seriously, but taking yourself less seriously after something
perhaps
like this, that combination. It's a good combination. Life is serious, but I'm not serious.
Is that a good quality?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we're doing something here. There's something going on.
Right.
Right. But I'm not the.
Right.
I'm okay to be laughed at. I'm not I am not serious. It's just the work is serious. Right.
It's definitely a good coping mechanism.
Better than the reverse.
Right. Yeah.
Better than the reverse. Life is meaningless, but I am, King Kong.
Yeah. There's no question. Someone who's gone through real, health issues or things like that. When something's shaky in their lives, they're a lot more grounded many times. They're prepared for things like this versus someone who everything's going smooth. All of a sudden, something comes in, there's this shock. There's a sense of shock, But if you've gone through this stuff, you're not as shocked.
So you said something about COVID, right? Where it seemed like your community was a little shaken, and you said, "Hey, like, let me do something about it." Did that play into that? Was that in your role as a rabbi that you said you had to do something, or is more as a person saying, "Okay, other people are scrambling a little bit right now, but maybe I can share a message with them."
I think it's one and the same, right? As a rabbi, this is my community, and people were very confused and very afraid, and personally, and I think any good person would feel that they want to bring comfort and bring, strength to people in difficult times. So.
Right, but we were all in that same situation.
Right.
Right. So when you're saying like the people were confused and you were the one bringing comfort, so I'm asking that question if you feel like the accident played into that, meaning because it's kind of the same thought of you're prepared for more difficult times.
This is a good question. Honestly, I haven't thought about the accident for a really long time.
Interesting.
So, and I'm sure that subconsciously it plays into a lot of who I am and what I do. But I never took time to think about it. So this is actually great. I'm going to go back and say, oh, I should have said this, that, and the other. But yeah.
Right. I think about like people's life stories a ton. Like I listen to life stories, and it's fascinating to me. And I think there's so much information to be like, is the word gleaned or gleamed? Gleaned, I think.
Both.
Gleaned from a someone's life story. Right. Especially these major events that happen to very few people. How many people end up in a car accident that's so serious that they're in a hospital for 5 months, but they're alive?
Yeah.
Right. And then also, there's no obvious trace on you. I don't know if you have any, but sitting across from you, there's no obvious trace.
Thank God I'm recovered.
Yeah, and there wasn't any either when we went into the cold plunge.
Yes. So for those that are listening, I was encouraged to take a cold plunge in an ice. Well, there was no ice, but it was cold enough.
Yes.
Yeah, it was, and that was very eye-opening and refreshing. I was falling asleep on the way here.
I was also.
Really?
Yeah, had a long, like about a 40-minute drive here, and I was actually on the phone with my brother, and he asked me a question. I responded back. He said, "What?" I said, "I kind of nodded off. I don't remember what I said." He's like, "Nodded off." Yeah, I said, "Yeah, I'm tired."
That'll wake you up.
So jumped in there. Yeah, it does. It does work.
Yeah,
it does more than wake up. It also gives a lot of
invigorating.
It turns on the pharmacy.
I'm going to explore that. Maybe I'll do that again.
Yeah, there may have been. We have to ask a question. If Chabad didn't have mikvah, right, daily mikvah,
right,
and it wasn't in cold climates, would Chabad be Chabad? Like it's possible the cold plunge was much more important.
Interesting. It could be that everything that Chabad became was impacted by the cold plunges of mikvahs for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Well, there weren't many Orthodox Jews don't go to mikvah every day, right? There's just a select group.
Right.
And many who do go in warm climates, right? If someone in Israel, maybe they had, fine weather the whole time. So they didn't experience the breaking of the ice and the freezing cold weather. So it could have been Chabad's secret
I think you're onto something here. I definitely think you discovered something.
So we've been doing, Mayor Collinson and I have been leading these weekend retreats, right, for men. We've done a couple of them. We have a third one coming up in the end of March. And we start every morning with this. And most of the guys have never done it before. And we go in and we make them real cold, like colder than this.
Really?
Really, really cold.
I don't think you could get colder than this. But okay, go on. That was cold.
Right. You can get right up till freezing.
Yeah.
Right. So you can get 32.5 degrees and the water's still running. You can get in. This one is probably about 50. So it's cold, but it's not freezing. Those will get real cold. But when you have 15 people around you, like they warm you up. There's a lot of energy, and like if you see someone else do it, I'm not going to be the one to jump out. People stay in generally, but it was the sense of like camaraderie and community, and we just did a hard thing together, and we're all on the same page now. I'd go as far as saying as I don't know if the retreats would be the same without this this one ingredient, like what it does. So it's possible. I'm not like we're kind of saying it as a joke, but it's possible.
Right. No, but there's truth in it.
Like a bunch of Chassidim going every morning, cracking eyes, going to mikvah. Like it's possible to change something significantly.
Come out roaring,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I saw some pictures or videos from your retreats. I think it's a wonderful thing, empowering men There's not a lot of focus on men getting together to strengthen them. So I don't see a lot of groups like that. So
Right.
Yeah.
I know Mayer was very intentional about that because he's kind of more the vision behind the retreat in a lot of ways. He's the one who asked me to jump on board, and he's done a lot of these things, and it felt right for me, and I've got a lot of growth from it. But one of the things that he was very particular about was he didn't want any women involved at all, meaning not even. Eventually, he gave in on like the house has to get clean at some point, and that's who he had available to us was a woman. But he didn't want like the chef has to be a man, right? On his cooking, it was very like it has to be men, and men in that space there'll be a safety that even one woman can change that, can just change the energy, and men won't go to the same place in terms of healing with one female.
It seems like you've had the people that went felt very good about the program.
You know where I got the best feedback, the most meaningful feedback talking about that is from the wives of participants.
Really?
Yeah, and especially if it's a few weeks after. Not like the next day and it was like, oh, it's so great to have a weekend alone without my husband. Like that's not that kind of feedback, but 3 or 4 weeks later saying, hey, like something shifted after my husband came here, and I'm grateful for what you guys did. Yeah, those are the most, I'd say the most meaningful feedback.
That's special that you could give people that. Do you see something in part, like one feedback that came back? Did you see something that most of the men benefited from in particular?
I think was the community of it.
Yeah.
I think the community of it. The fact that people on a journey meet other people on the same journey, and then there's, it's different when someone's starting their healing journey, and everyone's doing it for one reason or another, right? Maybe it's, they decide to kick a bad habit, drinking, or maybe the one guy I think of, he just went through a divorce, right? So he's saying, okay, I got to figure this out. Like here I am parenting my kids alone. Like the stuff I was doing obviously isn't working. Like life all of a sudden hits him in the face in a much more real way. And he's saying, I got to do something. But if he still has the same friend group, and he's going to, he's going to a restaurant with a few of his buddies, and he's thinking about, okay, his like life challenges and working on himself, and they're talking about sports and women, it's not the same. So where I really saw the change that's long-term and beneficial is that it's not so much us, like Mayor and I, doing that. It's that there's a group of people coming together who are all on the path of healing, and now there's friendships that are formed. And we have WhatsApp groups for them afterwards, and like we kind of see the activity on it and people sharing different stuff. I think that's the way Mayor says that is the medicine of brotherhood, I think he calls it. Like it's a medicine and
well coined.
And brotherhood, which a lot of these concepts, they exist in.
We have the minyan.
Yeah, the minyan, right. The minyan.
We have the
farbrengen. Yeah. Right. There's something here. There's definitely
just putting it all together with the mikvah.
The mikvah, yeah. There's definitely something here. Right. We use tobacco a lot. We use like this indigenous tobacco from the Amazon. It's like a very good medicine. It's called rape, and really has the ability to center someone and everything else. So someone's like, "Oh, what is this?" From the culture, you say a little shmek tabak. It's not. Yeah, it's not.
It's really back to our roots,
right? Not forever. Sometimes you have to go around the world, to come back home.
Right.
So it's interesting to me that you didn't. Like that, the accident kind of got lost in your, meaning you don't think about it often.
No, I really don't think about it a lot, but there's probably a lot to explore.
There's a guy, I like his podcast. His name is Adam Young. His podcast is called The Place We Find Ourselves. So it's a good pun, The Place We Find Ourselves.
Nice.
And he talks a lot about story work, meaning it's like diving into our stories and those pivotal events and what we learned from them and how it changed us, and to really pull them apart. And then he teaches people how to listen. Like, how do you listen to someone's story and really help them see, kind of mirror for them, what are those essential moments that,
Right. Shaped who they are.
Yeah, shaped who they are. Right.
Right. Everyone has a story.
Everyone has a story. And
just being born is traumatic. So,
right, that's a thought, right? That's the Jewish, what is it called? What is it? Like Bal Karcha Hatachai, right? We're forced to live. We don't come here by choice.
We come in screaming, kicking and screaming, and we go out kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
right? You know the song Neshamala, that song?
Ellie Levin sings it?
Yeah, it's a famous song. Come with me, little Neshamala.
Okay.
Right? That's it. Neshama doesn't want to
Right,
come
it's want to
here.
go.
Yeah, sorry for singing. That's not my gift on your podcast. But I thought you would know it. You know?
No, I don't.
But then it's time for the soul to go, and the soul doesn't want to go, right?
Right.
You're right.
Interesting. What does your brother do now? The one who was in an accident?
He's in business, but he's doing really good in what he does, and I hope I'm doing okay in what I
Awesome.
do.
So do you see it on him? I don't know why I'm focused on the story, but I'm sure there's a reason why. Do you see some changes in him, some things ways that it affected him, or maybe your relationship in some way?
You know, he's always been a close to me back then and now. And, you know, it's something we always went through together. It was a very hard time. It's a hard time for my whole family. You know, I was in the hospital, he's in the hospital, my parents were back and forth. But you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so definitely some of the strength that we each have in our life probably comes back from that accident. And what is it in particular, I don't know.
Right. Okay, you haven't pulled it apart.
Right.
You haven't pulled
But
it
this is a
apart.
great
There's a story.
therapy session, actually.
It could be.
So, yeah, so
It could be.
I have to think about this more, this accident.
Yeah, I learned a sikha of the Rebbe once about, you know, the concept of like God creating light, right? But when like the light that he created was not the same as day, right? There was a light that was
Right.
kind of hidden, and the way I understood the sikha is that our personal journey is like the darkness that's in our life, to convert that to light. So those difficult moments, like to make those
Right.
light.
The belief that if I find myself in a dark situation, I was put here to bring light or to reveal the light.
But to reveal that light in that situation.
Right.
Right. So for me, if there's something bugging me, like there was something, I'll give you an example. Like a few years ago, what was bugging me was I understood why I went through what I went through. I felt I understood it, right? Like I went through sexual abuse as a child. I understood why I developed an addiction. I got that. Like, okay, I'm good with it. There were certain lessons I need to learn, but why like the lowest of addictions? Why is sex addiction? Give me another addiction. Like these guys, alcohol and like drug addicts, they're high-fiving, they're wearing their medallions, like they're thrilled. Oh, I don't drink wine. Like they're thrilled about it. And people who stopped watching porn or, you know, were addicted to other kinds of sexual behaviors, they're kind of like under the radar, even within the recovery community. Remember years ago I went to, I don't know if you know Mayor Kessler, right? Mayor Kessler? Jewish Recovery, JRC I think calls it, Jewish Recovery Center. So he does an annual retreat for addicts from the Jewish community. And he had like, you know, the meetings for the alcoholics, you know, most of the room, the meetings for the drug addicts. It's like in the back corner of the hotel, they have the sex addicts get together. Even though most of the other rooms also, I mean, it's sex for goodness sakes. A lot of people are addicted to it, but still it was kind of like the redheaded stepchild of addiction. And I really had that question, like why? Like why this one? Why of all things this one?
Did you find an answer?
Well, I started talking about it, yeah. And now I found the answer. Meaning at this point, the answer is clear.
Well, no one else did what you're doing.
In terms of?
In terms of talking, making awareness, and giving people hope and direction and help.
Right. When I did it, like when I did the TED Talk on it, I didn't see anyone who had spoken about porn addiction from a personal perspective, except for a priest who spoke about it from the context of the clash with his kind of value system. It seems like, oh, as a priest to watch pornography and be addicted and the embarrassment in the church, like that was his big deal, but not his personal journey. And then others, at least from the standpoint of TED, were talking kind of, you know, the observer outside the room was like, oh, pornography is this thing that's, you know, the dopamine levels are spiking and people are really addicted to this stuff, but not someone's personal story. Yes, that's correct. But that's what I mean, meaning, so I wrestled with this, like why? And then the thought was, at some point, do something with it. Meaning if I still have that question, then obviously I haven't done enough to tease it apart. So eventually, by talking about it, those questions
you've accomplished so much. You made awareness. You've helped so many people.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and
Appreciate that.
It takes a lot of bravery and a lot of And to make anything happen today, just to run your business is hard. Anyone's business is hard enough. To actually put yourself out to make a movement, it's commendable.
Right. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
In terms of the content creation, right?
Yeah.
So that's obviously a passion for you. Is there, like, I know for me, the way I do it, it's a cost, right? At the end of the day, it's a net cost. So if you're inspiring and you're trying to encourage other people to do the same, what are they getting into? Meaning,
well, you could get very into it, and you could just spend a little time.
but time, financial, and is there
Right.
some sort of return that comes back outside of like in my case, it's all spiritual returns.
There are wonderful opportunities to make money in content creation, and I make a little bit, and it comes my way. Personally, I don't follow that. I have to find the time to focus on my community. I'm a fundraiser. I have a whole staff. It's a big operation. If I stop doing that and I start doing this, that won't happen. So right now in my personal stage in life, when I do content creation, it's in order to help people and hopefully inspire people, and I'm not looking for monetary gain.
Right. So your gain is, you see it more as your
But there's
mission.
opportunity for people who want to go into it and say, hey, I want to make this my career. There's a lot of opportunity, either through advertising, getting sponsorships, promoting things. There's a tremendous opportunity.
Right. If you wanted to, you could.
Yes, but when I ask myself, like, if I do that, well, so that's what I'll be doing. Now I get to create the content. I don't owe anyone anything. I don't have to produce anything for anyone other than the content, which is what I want to accomplish.
Right.
So where I'm holding is I'm not doing this for any kind of gain.
So in terms of your community, right, which I'm sure a lot of people listening to this may ask that question is, okay, did it positively impact, negatively impact? Did it take away from your community?
I've seen wonderful results from my community. This is one of the reasons I talk to shluchim or rabbis about doing this. So there's different levels of involvement, people in any community, especially a Chabad house. So you have the people that come every Shabbos, right? The groupies. They're awesome. But then you have people who you only see 2-3 times a year.
Right.
Right? And you're their rabbi, and that's enough. But every time I would meet them, it was like starting again. I saw you 6 months ago. I saw you 4 months ago. I saw you Yom Kippur. Right? Something started to happen as I was making content. I would walk into someone's office, and the guy would like greet me very warmly. And I realized he's watching me every single day. And he's saying, we were at our Thanksgiving dinner, and we had a whole conversation about how, Turkey might be Jewish, because I might have made a video like that, right? So suddenly I'm in their lives on a regular basis, and they're learning things they never learned before, because today the way people learn is they're consuming things through social media. That's just the world we live in. So being a rabbi and saying, I don't believe in social media is like saying today, I don't believe in having a website or an email. It's like a necessary tool of communicating with people. That's the way people get their news today. A lot of people get their news through social media. They don't even go to websites for it anymore. So walking into an office and seeing someone and realizing that now we're talking every single day. So when I meet with them, it's like a whole different level of friendship.
Has it enabled you to meet new people in your community who you wouldn't have otherwise met?
Yes, in the community and beyond the community.
I'm sure beyond the community, but I'm saying people
I've
who are in your
had
backyard.
and a lot of nice stories. Like in my community, there's a young lady who started to become somewhat observant or religious. I wouldn't say she's religious, but her family felt that she was like straying. They raised her conservative, very Jewish, and she has all these other ideas now. She's doing things that they didn't do, maybe kosher, Shabbos on some level. And it was a point of...
It's interesting that people consider this straying, meaning... Right, going too far is also straying. Right.
People that become more religious, their families have to go through a lot. Just like in the religious world, where you have someone that goes off the religion,
right,
and they,
right, it's an adjustment for both.
And so the family is they're grieving, they're up at night. The same thing's happening for the secular Jewish family. What did we do wrong? I thought we sent them to a good college, right? And there was a point of contention. And it turns out that the girl's father ends up is a community leader in my community, knows of us, but we never, because they're part of a different shul, a different denomination. Right. And he started watching my videos, and he became a real fan. And he watched, when I met her, and she was telling me, "You don't know what you did for our family." I said, "What did I do?" And she said, "It used to be anything about religion was just a point of contention. Now he follows an Orthodox rabbi, and he comes to discuss with me, and we're discussing the videos, and we suddenly found a way to start communicating." And it's really been so when I hear little stories like this, and I hear all the time stories like this, that's the kind of impact I'm looking to make, like real impact in people's personal growth and their Judaism.
Right, that's neat. It almost makes you more like not only you, but the whole Orthodox community more accessible, more approachable, more relatable.
Yes, I have a lot of people that follow me that fell out from the Orthodox community as well, and I have a lot of meaningful conversations. Sometimes people end up calling me, or even just DM, direct messaging. A lot of people have been burnt by religion or by people in the religion.
Yes.
And it's very difficult for them. Sometimes they never find themselves fully. They straddle between worlds. And, I found, and a lot of people shared with me that my account is somewhat, to them, it's relatable. It's the Judaism that they would have hoped existed. And so there's a lot of meaningful connections, again, in the community and beyond the community.
That's neat. And have you done anything specific or targeted towards encouraging others to take the same path? I mean, you're part of a network of, say, 5,000 rabbis.
Yes. So I've given some talks already within the different gatherings that we had. Not at the Kinus HaShulchan yet, although there was a talk about that. But
there was a talk about that.
Yeah, there was a talk to do that, and someone contacted me, and it didn't happen yet. I'm sure it'll happen in the future. It needs to happen.
Yeah.
But we have regional kinus for our tri-state area, and I've spoken a few times there. And a lot of rabbis and even business people reach out to me for tips, like what can I do to be seen, to understand the algorithm.
Neat. So what I'm curious to get into is if there's someone specifically who you're able to guide through maybe certain hurdles that they had with it. Maybe not so much the technical hurdles, but more kind of the psychological hurdles that someone may have with it. And most likely if they had a specific hurdle, then many people listening who are kind of on the fence there and saying, should I or should I not enter the world of content creation? I wondered for a long time, hey, I talk about healing. You call this a therapy session. I'm not a therapist, but I talk a lot about a healing topic. So where's my degree? What right do I have to do it? So I went through some of those things. I'm curious if there's someone on your side that you kind of nurtured through the process of doubt and concern, should I or could I do this? And now they're doing it, and maybe what some of their concerns were. It may relate to a lot of people listening.
Yes, definitely a conversation I've had with many people. I think the first thing is, there's a few ideas I would focus on. One is to really find your voice, like find the way that you feel comfortable communicating. Don't try to be someone else. It just doesn't work. And if it works, it doesn't last long. So it's a little exercise. The only way to find your style, your voice, is really just to start doing it. And you might go back and delete some videos in a couple months, and that's okay. But if you don't start creating content and communicating, nothing will ever happen. So the first step is just to start. The other thing is, in general, in order to be successful, a person has to niche down on what they're going to address. There's so many accounts there. Someone is, photographer, a hair designer, a yoga instructor, and a part-time cook. And so no one knows what they're following. So there are times that you could blend, but generally, if you want to create an account, try to find a niche that works. And I had another thought. Consistency.
Right, that is the number one, by the way. Yes.
Consistency.
Yes.
Constantly creating. A lot of people start and they stop a few months and they stop. And it's so hard because life is so busy. There's ways that you could get around it. People are busy. Some people batch content. That's a good idea. batch content. They'll sit down,
Make 10, 20.
make 10, 20, and
we do
they'll
that
release, and we'll release it slowly. That's
Yeah.
one way, but consistency. It should, we should be releasing every single day if possible, or several times a week.
Right. Yeah, that's what I found was a real difference maker, because I was doing the podcast conversations and it was sporadic. Like I said, I do, 2 in a week and then maybe nothing for 6 weeks. And then,
Right.
another
So
one a
it's
couple
not
months
good
later.
for the people watching. It's also not
No,
good
they
for the
don't-
algorithm too.
Yeah, they don't know anything.
Right.
Once I started, I said like Tuesday, Friday posting. Now I switched it up. Now I do once a week a conversation. And obviously there's shorts going on all the time, like and so on. But every week someone knows like there's a full conversation being posted. And I probably have 25 in the queue right now.
That's amazing. Yeah, so that's a key thing. Within the realm of being a rabbi or trying to create Jewish content, look, you have to know what your goal is. If your goal is only to speak to the people you know in your community, you don't have to overthink things, because they want to see you and you'll give your thoughts, and that's nice. But if you're trying to build a stronger following, or you see how the algorithm works is only maybe 5% of your followers are going to see any video. And depending on how it goes, whether there's interactions, comments, likes, replays, then the algorithm says, okay, we'll give it to another 5%. And that's how something goes viral. And then if it keeps happening, then the algorithm says, let's just send this to everyone because this is awesome. So if you want to be impactful, you have to create content that the algorithm is going to like, which is a whole different discussion. If you're trying to speak about a truth,
Right.
if you have a message, are you trying to share your truth, or are you trying to appease the algorithm? So that's another
So
discussion.
how do you balance that?
It's a balance, because at the end of the day, if you have a message, and this is one of the things I struggled with in the beginning. If you look at my account, there's like some real lessons in Torah, and then there's just some really fun, loose stuff that like things I doubted, like, should I be posting this? Is this right? But the bottom line is the candy, we'll call it the candy, the fun stuff is what makes you stand out, makes you unique. And in order for people to keep coming back, if you have to be able to have things with hooks, things that are fun, things that are a joke, things like that. And even though that's not what I'm trying to accomplish, but in order to be able to reach more people, that's you have to.
Oh, interesting. Because when you said balance, I thought I was imagining you balancing within one video
Not
itself.
necessarily.
But no, you're balancing.
Well, you want a good hook. You want to be
Right.
able to start with a hook. Like the worst way to start a video is this week's Parsha says. I mean, the worst way to start a sermon as a rabbi is that this week's Parsha says. The moment you say that, you lost like your whole crowd. There's like no one listening. They are gone. Their eyes are open. They're gone, right? So in the Gemara, milsa b'dichvsa, right?
Yeah.
So you say
Start
a
with a
joke,
joke, yeah.
right? So you got to say something outrageous about the tunnels in 770. Now you have everyone's attention, and somehow you got to connect it to your parsha, to your thought, to your message. So you always need you have 2 seconds for a person to decide, are they going to watch this or they're not going to watch this? So yes, I want to create Torah thoughts for your Shabbos table. And yes, I'd like to share something meaningful and impactful, but not always does that have the same reach as something a little more outrageous or creative. So the idea is to actually do it in the same video is ideal, but also to blend content, create.
Right. Some serious, some lessons, some
Right.
jokes.
Exactly.
Some and what about, so you focus more on the technical aspects of it. What about some of those hurdles where guys like, I want to, but I just can't. I can't bring myself to it. Kind of the example you gave at the beginning with being uncomfortable behind the camera. How have you helped people get over some of those?
Like I said before, I think we have to start creating.
Just
start creating. It's okay to be uncomfortable. That's how we grow. Put something out, and the more we do it, the more comfortable we get. And like I said, go back and delete the first ones eventually. But you have to find your own voice. The problem is so many people are trying to be someone else they're watching. Try to be like some other account or some other speaker. And really, like, everyone has a unique flow, a unique style, from a special perspective. And so, like, unless you start talking, you're not going to find it. So that's, and like I said, the camera does, block a lot of people from being creative, but there's only one way to get over it. Start doing it. But not everyone has to be on camera. Some people
Right, you
could
mentioned that,
be
yeah.
writers and
Yeah.
musicians right?
Yeah, you have those, who's the guy, like Zusha, right? Zusha
Yeah.
and his sidekick.
Oh yeah, I
They do,
love
like
their
these crazy
stuff.
videos.
Every time they're on the
going out
screen,
there,
I'm watching. No one's
Right.
talking, but I'm
No
watching.
talking, right.
They got the
Yeah,
groove.
it's fun. They got a great vibe.
Right.
So let's take a zoom out a little bit. So you're talking a rabbi and Judaism and every else. Okay, who cares? What is this Judaism about? What does it mean to you?
To me personally,
Yes.
it's everything. Judaism to me, Yiddishkeit to me, is my purpose, and I think all of our purposes. And even if we're not Jewish, and we spoke about this before, the idea to bring more goodness, more love, more godliness to the world. Now, we could come up with our own ideas, that's great, but Judaism has a great track record. And throughout history and from the Torah, we have unbelievable gifts, and I'm inspired every day by learning. I love sharing that with others and hopefully inspiring others as well. Now, I was born into it, right? I grew up in a Chabad house. From a young age, I was asked to stand up and say the Devar Torah and do it. And maybe it's not for everyone so obvious, but for me, it's always been, I want to share the beauty that I see in Yiddishkeit with others.
So how would you sell it to someone who's, that's two different audiences. One who doesn't know much about it, and someone else who's been jaded by it. Someone who's been through it and says, I know exactly what Judaism is, and what you're selling is a crock of shit.
Right. So it depends who you're talking to. Let's talk about someone who hasn't experienced Shabbos. Right? Today with social media, everyone's addicted to their devices. We have huge problems with relationships in the world. Kids and parents aren't seeing eye to eye, not getting along, busy, distracted. Everyone, even if you're in a good place, everyone's so distracted and so busy. We're busier than we've ever been. We're expected to be in touch with people. Like, the gift of Shabbos is the biggest gift we could give to ourselves. And so many people have shared with me after, thinking about it, like, I wish I could. And it's such a scary step. Like, how do I just unplug for 25 hours? Like, will the world forgive me? Will I forgive myself? So that's a very big hurdle. And like, my encouragement to people is, you don't have to. You could start for 1 hour. Anyone could start for 1 hour. You could literally light the candles, sit down with your family, but you're going to eat dinner anyway, right? Hopefully it's kosher, but, right? So make the kiddush, and everyone shuts off their phone, and no one touches the TV for 1 whole hour. And I think that if you really did it, you're going to say, this is nice. Let's do another half hour. And let's do this until tomorrow morning. Right? Tomorrow's a new day from when the sun sets. And I've guided a lot of people to actually do this. Some people have gone all the way, some haven't. Some won't. But the gift of Shabbos, of sitting around the table and talking, just talking, and no one's looking at their phone. And I'm guilty. Let me tell you something. I'm always on my phone. I'm addicted to my phone if it's not Shabbos, right? It's a gift. It's beautiful. Oh, and doing something like singing songs as a family together. Who does that? Who has, right? That's beautiful. So when people I've encountered and I've watched them grow, and they've taken the gift of Shabbos. Okay, so I think it's an easy sell. Now,
certainly Shabbos is an easier sell as you go to...
Okay, then there's other things, and there's some things that I struggle finding the beauty in myself, and that's okay. It's harder for me to sell something that I struggle with myself. Right?
And so if you took that deeper meaning in terms of, okay, Shabbos makes sense. There's a point in time where, for example, pigs had real risks of disease. But now with, advancements and food investments and how we make the food, that has less of a risk.
So kosher falls in the category of a chok. A chok is a law that really doesn't make sense. People try to make kosher as if it makes sense. And they say there's health benefits and things like that, but it's really not the reason for kosher. In fact, tomorrow, if we find out that pig's the best thing for you, right, since mom and apple pie, and it'll make you live an extra 100 years, we're still not going to do it. So it's not about health. It falls in the category.
Shabbos?
Shabbos is also, actually, you're right. It's also, I believe it's a chayk as well, but it's easier to find a way to communicate it. So can we find the benefit in living mindfully? Absolutely. And that's what kosher does. Now, you be a vegan and find the same mindfulness.
Right, exactly.
All right? But, and you're probably going to be kosher, more or less, except for the bugs in the lettuce, right? But if you're a real vegan, you don't want to eat the bugs in the lettuce, right? So, I mean, I think there's a lot of beauty everywhere. And yeah, no, not everything I understand fully and not everything I'm comfortable with. And there's things I struggle with in my own faith and understanding. And I don't mind discussing that with someone, and I'm comfortable discussing that with someone in my community, or someone who's religious and says, I struggle with this. I have no problem saying, yeah, I do too. Because guess what? The whole Gemara is a bunch of rabbis talking about what they struggle with.
Right.
And questioning and finding the truth that connects to them, to make sense for them, not just say, these are the laws, believe it. Right? So, I mean, I see so much beauty in Yiddishkeit.
And talking to the audience of people who've been jaded by it.
I think that a lot of people have become allergic to religion because of their experiences. Many times it has to do with people, not the religion.
People who represent the religion also.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the name of religion.
Yeah.
They'll say it in the name of religion.
Yeah.
They'll say they're acting in the name
exactly. And it could cause some very deep trauma. And I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of that in different teachers growing up. In my home, I had a very happy, Yiddishkeit was always presented in a loving way. Personally, I'm blessed that it was. But, in the yeshiva system, definitely a lot of times there's a lot of guilt and a lot of things like don't ask questions.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you said you went through a period of time where you asked a lot of questions and asked questions to teachers. How was that received?
Most of the time, it wasn't received very well. And in my teenage years, I was one of those young people that were very much questioning, like, this doesn't make sense to me. There was one particular rabbi that really started to answer questions, and I would give him a lot of the credit for taking the patience.
Do you want to name him?
Sure.
Be nice.
You know who it is?
Who?
He's very famous.
Good.
Yossi Jacobson.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you take the time to answer.
Absolutely.
Nice, beautiful.
Right. And you know what? Better than any answer he ever gave, and a lot of the answers I wasn't necessarily happy with.
He was a teacher in Chayveh.
He was a teacher before he was a world-renowned speaker. He was started a little bit. There was a group of 9, 12 of us, and he was our Rebbe.
Right.
I must have been 17, 18. And in my head, I checked out of Judaism from a perspective of there was a lot of questions and doubts and things I struggled with. And at least the people who were teaching me at that time, I didn't give a lot of value to what they were saying.
Right.
But when I started asking him the question, more than anything, he allowed the question. And I think that's very important. To allow the question, that's the first step.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, he gave wonderful answers, but it allowed me to say, okay, this is normal, this is good. There's nothing broken with you because you're asking a question. There's something broken with you if you're not asking the question.
Right. There's something very, it feels weak not being able to handle a question. It feels insecure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Coke is the best, but you can't try Pepsi.
Right.
Right. Taste everything. Taste everything. You come back home. So what would you say to those people more jaded by Judaism? What is your message if you're trying to convey to them? And it's not only Judaism. In fact, like you said, it's actually religion. Many people have very negative associations. I'm sure there are people who have negative experiences with priests, and as a result, have a negative feeling towards an Orthodox rabbi.
Sure.
So what do you say to them?
People bunch all religion together.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the first thing is to, first of all, listen to their story, and many cases probably validate their story, because I bet you one of the reasons they're running far away is because no one's ever done that. And when I say validate, like, there's a lot of room for validation for someone who had questions that weren't answered, who had someone who was harmed or abused in any way. So many times just being a person, a rabbi, and listening and validating, that could be very, very, very powerful. Sometimes you don't have to do more than that.
Right.
And really look at the person and tell the person, you're right, that was wrong, or your question's a good question. I struggle with that question too. That's very powerful. And the next step I would say is to, if the person's open to it, to say, you grew up with one small view of Judaism. Many times it's from a group that says this is the only way. Moses had a fedora.
Right.
Moses had a kippah sruga. Moses had a strimal. Right? Many times that's the teaching. So like is this to just show that within Yiddishkeit, and I mean within traditional Judaism, there are so many flavors. There's so many styles. And there's so much beauty. And encourage the person to experiment. Go try a bunch of different shul. Like, just try it out. Don't run away from everything. You don't have to drop everything because you're not comfortable with one mitzvah or one community. If a person's open to do that, I've seen people that, like, they ended up saying, I don't know, Breslov, that talks to me, or,
right.
And look, I did find people that found a way to connect to Hashem after leaving everything. And to me, a person that, you're putting on tefillin, you're doing one mitzvah, there's value in that, there's beauty in that. I hope you could return to a frum lifestyle. That would be nice, but you could do something. You could still feel connected. You don't have to run away from everyone or from yourself.
I hear it. Can we tie the different topics together? Looking for the thread.
So we have car accident.
Yes, we have the car accident. So we got your journey with
We have
content
social
creation.
media.
Yeah, your journey with content creation, which is important to you. I mean, you light up when you talk about that subject. It is important. Chase, who I have a close relationship with, he talks about it all the time. Like, he's like practically begging people when he's talking, like, please, there's so much crap on social media. Like,
yes,
just post good stuff, put good stuff out there, share.
It's so important with anti-Semitism. It's so important.
Right.
Because just if people start following Jewish creators, and many non-Jewish people are following, so suddenly they see a real person in a real life with a real family, and you just can't, some people have been taught that Jewish people are, whatever they are, whatever they were taught, but it's hard to believe that,
right.
Hate someone that you get to know.
Right.
So I think it's so important, so important for Jewish people to share online in general, just good, positive stuff. Yeah.
Good, I like it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking, like one of the selling points, like if I was talking about it, is that the benefits are not just here. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, I had a conversation or I said something and I impacted them. There are relationships that are in my life that are directly important ones that are like came through the podcast, meaning there's real life stuff that have happened. Recently, we opened a home not far from here, which offers different healing events and breathwork workshops. And I don't know, therapists can use it for one-on-one for their clients and rent it out. And most of that happened, those people which I met and the people who are coming, like a lot of them found us through the podcast. So it's seeing that there's actual real life things in the world that could happen through the process of content creation. It's not content creation and then it ends.
Well, that's the world today. That's real life. It's like saying I'm not going to be involved in social media. It's like saying I'm not going to have a website.
Right.
It's just, that's the way we're communicating.
Right. So going there, I get it 100%. And hopefully people are encouraged and inspired to.
I hope so. Yeah.
To do this.
Yeah. And there's so much information to learn how to do it. It's all out there. You
So
don't have to go to university today to learn.
Right. So where to from here? I know you mentioned the 7 Noahide laws, but how does this evolve?
That's an idea I'd like to work on. That's one idea. I don't know yet. we'll find out. Right now, I'm working on balancing, leading my organization, my shul, my community, and social media. If I could figure out to find a good balance, I will then venture out to another. But it will be hopefully a creative and fun kind of project.
Yeah, and then you have the second one, which is the to encourage content creators as well.
Yeah. If anyone has questions that I could help with, I'll be happy to reach out to me. Sure.
It's awesome to
I still answer all my DMs.
Really?
And there are a lot. Yeah.
So that's all. Wow.
Yeah. Eventually.
Right.
It'll take a couple days, but eventually.
Right. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Okay. Any final thoughts? Any?
It's great to chat, to schmooze. I watched your podcast many times. It's nice to sit in the chair.
Thank you for
You're
coming.
a good interviewer. Yeah.
Yeah, interviewer. Yeah, that's what I say.
You ask good questions. And yeah, whoever's listening, just sign up for In Search of More. Because there's so much to search for. There's so much more.
Amen. Amen. And for those as well, follow the Rabbi Raps. Follow his journey and see where it goes. Support it. I think it's... I hope you encourage and inspire many people to share their message, share their gift with the
Thank
world.
you.
And if nothing else, if my wife hears this podcast and she chooses to finally start singing,
yes,
that'll
right.
that'll.
It's going to come from her, though, not from you. You know that.
Yes, I know that.
Okay.
I'll tell you so.
I think. Can I just say something? I think she wants to, but it'll come from her.
I didn't say anything for years. You want to know what's crazy? I didn't know.
Yeah.
It was like 6 years into knowing her that I found out she had a good voice.
Really?
Yeah, I had no idea.
That's great.
It's crazy. But I'll tell you, I'll end with this.
I cut you off. I'm sorry.
So it's Friday night. So I have dinners and there's a mix of people sometimes. So this past Friday night, an ayahuasca shaman who I'm close with was here and his son as well for dinner. Not Jewish, but very close, very connected. The shaman, his son is kind of just experiencing it at home for the first time. And he said once, I really like when, Ellie and his wife sing at the beginning, like we sing Shalom Aleichem. Like, I really like that at the beginning. And so I was kind of encouraging, like, everyone, he mentioned to me a number of months ago, but here he was saying, I was like, how do you enjoy the meal? Like, did you get what you wanted? Was the song the way you wanted it to be? Because my wife didn't sing it. And went like, do you want it to be different? What specifically did you say? Who did you say? Oh, you wanted her. So yes, I'm definitely trying to draw it out, but only now. And I don't think she listens to the podcast. I had to finally remember one say, it's like, Ellie, you can't talk, like certain things are private. You can't just say whatever you want. I said, what, did I say something in the podcast? Like, no, I don't listen to your podcast. Anyway, on that note, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining in the cold plunge. If you want an invitation to a little shmek tabak, I'll be inviting myself to some shortly, and you'll have the full Adama retreat experience.
Yeah,
Not the full, but a partial.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much.